you don't chase results. You actually grow into them through who you become and what you do. I've showed you the importance of the be do have, and we've talked about the be, we've talked about the do, and now we're going to talk about the have. That is the result of the work you put in becoming the author within. I want you to know that the have stage of the be do have model is actually the natural result of alignment between identity and action. I remember I told you that when you want to transform your identity in what, there's actions that need to be take place. If you know about the issue and you know, oh, I'm an author, I want to be an author, by the way, and I'm working on myself internally, you list out the things that you need to do to implement them. You can then get the results and see the rewards of those results. Because when you become the author internally and commit to consistent work, you begin to experience tangible outcomes where there's clarity, there is confidence, there is structure, and there is readiness. In fact, these results, they prepare you for the next phase, which is beyond, when you are ready to write a book, in writing, publishing, and expanding your message. So I want you to understand this, that when you see someone in a level that you're at, there was work that took place, right? And I want you to understand this, that results is a reward of the action you put into place, and not just the action you put into place, the identity that fueled that action. I know this because sometimes people will look at me and they're like, "Oh, how did you achieve this at this age? And how did you do this at this age?" And I'm just 28 years old, and I've done a lot in that period of time. And how did you accomplish this at this age? What did you do to do this? What did you do to get this result? They normally don't see the years it took me, 2 years, for me to work on myself before I'm able to get the result that I have now. You're seeing the result now, but it took 2 years. It did. Where things were not working, where I was building, where I was learning, I was working on myself, I was transforming my thinking, I was rebranding myself as an individual. It took me time. And that time is what most times people are not willing to put in, but it's needed. It's needed before you see the result. So I want you to see that every result you see in this world, it took identity and it took action. You can't say you want to be an author in the future and then you're not working on yourself. You're not implementing you put in the work needed to become the author within. Becoming the author within, when you start seeing yourself as an author, it doesn't happen automatically, right? When you start having the identity as an author, where you are the author within, you feel confident, you're not ready to write that book, it doesn't happen overnight. And that's what the aim of this video is, to tell you that it does not happen overnight. There was time that took place, there was action that took place, there was consistency that took place. There are days that they didn't feel like, and you didn't feel like, and people didn't feel like doing it or doing what they needed to do, but they showed up regardless. So I wanted to say that so that people will understand that results doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. It takes time, and that time depends on each individual. It varies based on the kind of person that you are, or the kind of circumstance that you are going through as an individual. So I want you to know that results reflects identity plus action, right? It reflects that, because your results are not random, they are predictable. When you've put in the work, showed up for yourself daily, weekly, however you choose to set up your structure, eventually with time, you will see the result. And I know this because I know I gave an example about recording videos. I first started my first YouTube channel 2023 January. I started with I have a platform called Child Design, and we have a Child Design Academy where we teach you about the Word of God and identity. And I remember that When I started this channel, listen, my, my voice was not the greatest. My camera wasn't the greatest. And not even just the camera, I didn't know a lot about what I was doing. But eventually, when I started showing up for myself, when I started recording the videos, when I started doing the work, I realized something. And I'll tell you something real quickly. I'm getting closer so we can understand this for a second. When I started doing the work internally, started recording over and over. I watched this video. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you should do that. You should focus on this. You should not focus on that. I started seeing. I started seeing the progress as I was going. But do you know, it took 2 years for people to start asking me how I did it. When I got so good, like if you bring a camera to me, I can speak, no script, nothing. I've learned how to do it. People started asking me, oh, I want to record my video. How do I do it? How do I set up? And I told them the same thing and they look at me like, what? I said, just record. Plan the scripts that you have, do this, do that, do this, but at the same time, just record. There's no special work here. Practice will make it perfect, and it's the truth. And you will keep getting better. Am I perfect? No. Obviously, the content is going to get better. We're going to get a good camera. We're going to have a studio. It's going to improve over time. But what I'm saying is that you have to see that people didn't just see the result over. It didn't just happen. I practiced for 2 years recording, posting, no views, still posting, and sometimes 1 view, 2 views, sometimes 0 views. I'm the one that viewed it. And with time, I became so good in recording myself that people have started asking me based off the results of the work I put internally and the actions that I executed. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying that, your results, they're not random. They are predictable. The more you the more you put in the time, the more you're able to see the result. And if your identity is aligned and your actions are consistent, results will follow. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So when you're asking, oh, I've been working on myself mentally, I've been doing the work, you start becoming the author. Because eventually, when you start writing a book, you're going to see the benefits of the work you've been doing in your identity and the actions you've been putting into ensuring that you work on yourself, you rebrand yourself, you focus on becoming the author internally. So always know this, that result always reflects, it follows identity plus action. Another thing is that clarity becomes a result of the work that you put in. So through consistent work, you start gaining clear ideas, defined directions, structured thinking. Remember, I said to you that if you bring a camera before me without a script, I can talk about, as far as it's my niche, it's my topic, I can talk about anything regarding that topic without a script. You want to know why I can do that? The reason why I can do that is because I've been doing it for a long time. Time plus effort equals excellence. And that's the truth. The more you do pay attention, the more you work on something over a period of time will build your ability to be a master at it. So I have clear ideas because I've been speaking for years now. I can speak better. I can define my conversations. I can create a flow because I've been doing it for a long time. I have structured thinking because I've practiced it for a long time. And the more I did it, the more I'm able to do that, because at the end of the day, that then resulted to clarity. And that's the beautiful thing about the work that you're doing. It will always give you clarity. And that clarity will always eliminate confusion, regardless of wherever you are or whatever you've been invited to speak, or wherever you find your place, if you're at home or in the office, in the workplace, wherever you find yourself. when you start doing this work internally of becoming the author within, and even if you choose never to write a book, this is something that every individual must do internally. You will see that you have clarity in what you're doing. And then when you have clarity, then your confidence is built through the execution you have. You know that your confidence will grow as you prove to yourself that you can show up for yourself, you can write better, you can improve. Remember, I said this, that the more I started recording myself, the better I became. I tell you, many people aim for the end result without doing the internal work, and it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. You trying to get a result without doing the work, you will never last. It's the truth. It's like you trying to grow a grass without a good root system, or growing a tree without a root system. The root system determines how strong that tree will be. In fact, there is a beautiful parable I always talk about. It actually talks about the two concepts of these people. I like to call it the A and B test. It gave an example of two types of people. He gave the example of the one that builds their house on sand. So basically, they get the tools and the materials and they start building their house on the sand. But we know that sand is not strong. So the sand is quick, it just falls, and so the foundation is not going to be steady because sand moves as the wind blows. So they built it on the sand. They built the house so quickly. Everybody was like, wow, impressive. And they were applauding them. And then they look beside them and they see this guy up the mountain building on a rock on a mountain. Now we know to build in a mountain is not a joke. You have to first drill into the mountain because they're rocks, and then start laying the foundation. There's a lot of work. So that took that person longer, way longer to build. But if it took the first guy 5 months to build a house, it took the other guy 2 years plus to build their house. And when the guy was done, everybody applauded as well. But you want to know the difference between these two? When storms came, and when I mean storms, I mean wind, hurricane, whatever kind of storm it is in this world that represent. And storms are basically they represent, this symbolizes maybe say debt or payment or life challenges or so much more. When it came, do you know who fell? The one with the house on the sand. Why? Because the foundation can't hold it. The wind is gonna blow it off, and it broke. Meanwhile, the one on the mountain stood strong for generations to come. That's why if you notice, if you've ever gone on a tour to all of these European countries, actually went to Edinburgh, and if you look at the castles, you see that they're still standing. The foundation is so strong because it's built on the mountain. Any house, and this is truth, any house that's built on a mountain, it's strong. You don't even need to like rebuild the foundation again. You can just build a house on top of that foundation because the system is so strong. It's the same thing here, that when you start doing the work over time, it may take time, but trust me, you build the confidence that you need to be able to write that book in the future. Because execution will always build self-trust. If you can be consistent with yourself enough, that means you value yourself enough. And that's why I always say that if you don't value something, nobody else will value it. And it's the truth. So when you start valuing something, you see the rewards of it. Then when you've done the internal work, one of the benefits of that is that you will be ready to write the book and publish it. And it's now about transitioning from thinking to structuring, from doubting to executing, and from waiting to preparing. Now at this stage, you now know that you're ready to actually start writing the manuscript, because now you've done the work internally, you've focused on yourself internally, you've done the work that many people don't actually want to do. You've implemented, you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, you've done all you could do to ensure that the results is out there. And this is where people lay the groundwork. They do the work that they need to do before they actually go out there and start establishing. Many times, and I was probably one of them as well, where I was aiming to just get the result now, now, now. I need the result quickly. But depending on the kind of place you're going, that would determine the amount of work that needs to take place internally. If you are just writing a simple book, journal, it's not going to take you time to write the journal. It may take you like maybe a few months, but it won't take you time. But if you're writing a self-help book that people are going to be impacted by it, then that would take you time. So the internal work may take longer because you're trying to tell these people, do this because I did it, right? You're giving them your experience, but you're also giving them lessons. So there, it's a very beautiful thing to do this work. When I talk about doing the work within, it has so much impact in your authorship journey, in you being able to move to the next stage of writing that book, of actually getting that book out there, to get the book to be seen. So I want you to know that when you've done all this work, you are not ready to write, you're ready to publish, you're ready to go out there, because now you've done all the work that you need to do within you, and you're no longer guessing, but now you are ready, right? And you don't want to start authorship when you're not ready. So it's good to just do the groundwork, do the work you need to do now, so that when it's time to actually start writing the book, you can then write it with clarity, structure, and it's so much better. You've built habits that will be able to help you in your writing journey. Actually, I even know one of our students that they lacked self-discipline. It was so bad that they said they would do it and then they procrastinated. And one day I told them, if you can't, and I told them the quote I always say by myself. I always say the lack of self-discipline is lack of self-respect. And I said, if you don't respect yourself enough, how people respect you? And that day she sat and I said, wow. One word I told her, one consultation call. I said, if you can't respect yourself enough, how are people going to respect you? You can't show up. You said you're going to do something. You can't show up for yourself. People won't show up for you. Our life is the reflection of how we see ourselves. It's actually, there's even a thing called law of attraction. I'm not trying to go into that, but it actually is true. Your mind attracts what you think. Your mind attracts things. It's that whatsoever man thinketh, so is he. So whatever you think of yourself, that's who you are. So if you feel like you're a low grade author, you are going to be a low grade author. If you think your book doesn't have value, you will never have value. It's very simple. Like, these are principles that govern the earth. These are principles. So if you can't respect yourself enough and show up for yourself, how do you expect people to show up and buy your book? And that day, she realized, oh my goodness. So I when she started doing that work on herself, now she's published her book. Do you see? She stopped procrastinating. She learned time management. She became better at handling finances, handling her things, because she was ready to put the work inside. And that's why it's so important for you to do this. When we go through the Be Do Have model, it's not just any kind of model. It's a model that shows you the importance of identity, execution, and then yielding the results of it. People are asking me to help them now with their videos. Now, but 2 years ago, nobody looked at me. I didn't know what I was doing then. I was not disciplined. I would post videos once in a month. It was so bad that I had to learn to create a system. I said, every day on this time, I will post videos. I will post videos. If I delay on that day, I least the next day. But I must post videos. Because the lack of self-discipline is the lack of self-respect. And I think the last thing I would say is that when you do the work internally, it positions you for expansion. Well, you can now have a foundation for everything, for you to be able to write a book, for you to be able to build a brand, for you to be able to share your message. You have the capacity to learn. And this is where the opportunity begins, because when you do that work internally, you can then start implementing externally. So I want you to do me something. I want you to document what are the key things you're going to start, key lessons and ideas and the benefits of what you've been doing. If you haven't been working on yourself, then start working on yourself. I also want you to define what is one core message that I want to share with the world. Very important. Then I want you to organize your thoughts into teams and discover, like, okay, if this is what I want to do, how can I do it? And then I want you to prepare yourself for you to start your writing journey. Because then you've learned the skills, you've learned how to implement yourself so that you can be able to give the result that you want. And I hope this video was helpful for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.